Good morning, pupils. Now I'll be going through review the answers to the booklet B questions of 2013 PSLE paper. Question 31. Which of the following is likely to be the fruit of plant P? Choose your answer and tick in the box. And explain your answer. The answer is the fruit on the right. Why is that the answer? From the results, young plant P grows nearer to the parent plant compared to young plant Q. Seeds that are dispersed by splitting of the fruit will most likely grow around the parent plant. Hence, the fruit of P is likely to be split open when ripe to disperse its seeds. As you can see from the graph, there are more plants growing near the parent plants, but as the distance increases, there are fewer and fewer plants. So this shows that the fruit on the right is the one that is dispersed by splitting or explosive action. Question 32. Explain how the arrangement of leaves help plants are in photosynthesis. The leaves spread out and do not cover each other to help plant R obtain the maximum amount of sunlight for photosynthesis. By spreading out the leaves in this way, the leaves will be able to trap a lot of sunlight, and this will increase the rate of photosynthesis. B. Based on the info given above, state a common characteristic of the stem of plant R and plant S. Plant R and plant S have weak and non-woody stems. They are unable to stand upright. As a result, they have to cling onto another support so that they can grow upward to trap as much sunlight as possible so as to make food for itself. 33. How does animal N protect itself from predators? The body of animal N is covered with a hard shell to protect itself from predators. So when it is in danger, you will hide in a hard shell to protect itself from their enemies. Animal N attaches itself to underwater surfaces of ships and gets carried to other places without using much energy. How does being carried to other places benefit animal N? Animal N can find food and nutrients in new places. So, by traveling to different places, you will be able to tap onto new sources of food and hence increases its survival, increases its chance of survival. Scientists observe that ships with many tiny green plants have fewer animal N attached to them. Give a reason for this observation. The more the amount of tiny green plants, the lesser the amount of living space available for animal N. If there are already many green plants growing on the ships, there will be less space for animal N, as this will lead to competition of space and other essential items. So as a result, there are fewer animal N when there are already a lot of green plants. Question 34. The time taken for the mixture to turn green increases as the distance from the lamp increases. Explain why. As the distance from the lamp increases, the intensity of light decreases. As a result, the rate of photosynthesis slowed down. So the longer the distance from the lamp, the more difficult for the plant to trap light to make food. Thus, this will reduce the rate of photosynthesis. John conducted the experiment in a dark room, gave a reason why this helped to make the experiment a fair test. The lamp will be the only source of light for photosynthesis. If the experiment were to be conducted in a bright room, there will be other sources of light like sunlight, and this will make the experiment unfair. C. John repeated the experiment with a fourth tube W. W had a different amount of chloroplast from the tube S. He placed W at a distance of 10 cm from the lamp. The time taken for the mixture to turn green was 5 seconds. Which tube, S or W, had a larger amount of chloroplast? Explain your answer. Answer is definitely W. This is because when they are placed at the same distance from the lamp, the larger amount of chloroplast, the more light is absorbed. Hence, the rate of photosynthesis increases. Question 35. Name this process. The process is known as decomposition. Besides air and water, give another environmental factor that will affect the speed of the process. The other factor is temperature or warmth. Since all living things need air, water and warmth to survive. Suggest one use for the soil-like substance. It can be added to soil as fertilizers for plants. Question 36. Suggest 2 advantages of plant M to grow on the branches of trees. Plant M has less competition for sunlight for photosynthesis compared to plants growing on the ground. As they are growing at a higher position, it will be easier for the plant to trap light from the sun. Hence, this will increase its rate of survival. Hence it will increase its rate of photosynthesis and help it in survival. Second advantage, plant M growing on tree branches provide easier access for birds which eat its fruits and help disperse its seeds. As birds will be flying to the tree branches, they will be able to help to disperse the fruits of plant M, and this will help it to survive better and ensure its continuity of its kind. How does plant M benefit bird D? Plant M provides food for bird D as bird D feeds on its fruits. How does having sticky seeds benefit plant M? The sticky seeds can be carried away from the parent plant and grow in favorable places to prevent overcrowding. This will allow the plant to grow better as they are dispersed away from their parent plants, since they will be able to have enough light, water and nutrients to enhance their survival. Question 37. Junlong conducted an experiment using 2 similar pots of plant. The 2 pots were placed in a garden and were watered with the same amount of water at the start of the experiment. Explain why there was a decrease in mass for pot G. Water from the leaves evaporates into water vapor and diffuses into the air. The loss of water resulted in a decrease in mass for pot G. Explain why there was no change in mass for pot H. The water from the leaves evaporated into water vapor, which condenses into water droplets and fell onto the clear bag. Since water is not lost into the air, there is no change in mass for pot H. In pot H, the water vapor is condensed into water droplets, and the water droplets are not able to escape since there is a plastic bag preventing the water droplets from escaping. As a result, there's no change in the mass. Would the change in mass after 1 day be larger or smaller than that obtained for pot G? If Junlong used one other pot of plants with clear bag similar to pot G, but covering the lower surfaces of all the leaves with a layer of oil, it will be smaller than that obtained for pot G, because the other pot of plant will lose less water, as water will only be lost through the stomata found on the upper surfaces of the leaves. Do be mindful that most of the stomata are found on the lower surfaces of the leaf. If the lower surfaces of the leaf are covered by oil, it will prevent the water vapor from escaping. It will prevent water from escaping through the stomata as water vapor. Hence, the change in mass will be smaller than that obtained for pot G. Let's move on to the physical science questions. Give a reason why the bottle sank after a while. Water entered the bottle through the hole at point Q, as the air inside the bottle escaped through the hole at point P. The bottle became heavier when filled with water. So when water enters through hole Q, it will push the air out of hole P and thus enabling the bottle to sink when it is filled with water. Can Ming Han conclude that objects A and B were made of the same materials? The answer is no. There are many other different types of materials that will sink in water, and hence Ming Han cannot just conclude that they are made of the same materials. Question 39. Fill in the boxes to show the energy changes during burning. So the first box will be chemical potential energy in the block will be converted into heat energy and light energy. Question B. Suggest one property of material M. If the temperature at point Q shown below remains the same as the room temperature. Material M is a poor conductor of heat, or you can say it is also a good heat insulator. Question 40. Why is Aisha's experiment not a fair test? Suggest one change to the setup so that her experiment will be a fair test. As you can see, she is testing how the mass of an object affects the force needed to start moving the object. Hence, the mass of the object should be different. The other variables must be the same. She cannot use two different surfaces, so she should use the same type of surface in both of the setups. She should either change the glass to wooden or the wooden to glass. Question B. Aisha found that the temperature of the tray increased slightly after moving a long distance along the wooden surface. Give a reason for this. Heat was produced by friction between the tray surface and the wooden surface that were in contact. Hence, the temperature increased. Friction will lead to heat, and when there's heat, there will be an increase in temperature. Question 41. Complete the table below with X, Y, and Z. The time taken for the liquid to evaporate for X is 3 hours, Y 5 hours, and Z 2 hours. So the order is Y being the slowest in the rate of evaporation, followed by X, and the one that evaporates the fastest is liquid Z, as it takes only 2 hours, which is shorter than the other two. Question B. Give a reason how each of the following actions help to make her experiment a fair test. Using similar beakers, this will ensure that the area exposed surface is the same, as area exposed surface is one of the factors that affect the rate of evaporation. Number 2. Placing all three beakers at the same place will also ensure that the humidity level, the amount of wind present, and the temperatures of the surrounding are the same.